I think with that just came this resilience to always have to put my best foot forward. I always have to keep fighting because there's no one there to just swoop me up if it fails.
Yeah.
Yes. And so with that, just came this push of creativity of, I'm working from a deficit. And so what can I do with the materials that I have?
Welcome to the Trades Show. This is a show about modern craftwork. Each episode, I step into the workshops of skilled artisans across industries, from metalsmithing and butchery to woodworking and shoe cobbling. I'm your host, Briana Ottoboni. The Trades Show explores what it means to be a craft worker, the revival of the artisan trades, and the return to what makes us human, the ability to make with our hands. Because in every trade, there's a rhythm. The whir of a lathe, the hiss of a solder, the slice of a blade. And through these rhythms, we return to ourselves. Because making isn't just what we do, it's who we are. I'm so glad you're here. Today on the Trades Show, I sit down with Ian James, leatherworker and designer behind his namesake brand. We talk about his journey from dropping out of Parsons to launching a label of his own, what it really takes to run a brick and mortar store, and how he's pushing past the boundaries of bag design in pursuit of art that transcends rules. Our conversation takes place inside his studio and retail space, Ian James, on Valencia Street in San Francisco. Okay, thank you so much for being here and letting me in your studio and space.
Yeah, well, thanks for hitting me up.
Of course. So I always like to start with the same couple questions just to kind of ground us. So the first is, how would you describe what you do?
Okay, I guess I am a leatherworker, a fine artist, designer, maker of leather things.
I love that.
Yes.
And bring us into your world a little bit. What does a day in the life look like?
Yeah, so, okay, today's Saturday, so let's describe a Saturday. So I'll come in, see what needs to be done still. I have a little Asana board of production list things to see what is on the list. So I'll go ahead and start production. I'll open the store around noon.
You doing before noon?
Fully either making things, trying to straighten up. It's a goal that never happens. But so
okay. It's part of the charm.
Exactly. So trying to straighten up, re-merchandise, make sure everything is priced, everything is looking right, dusting, all that kind of stuff. And then open the store, do production while people are in the store, customer interfacing, all that kind of stuff. And then once I close, I'll either stay a little bit longer or go frolic out in the real world.
I love frolicking. Okay, so leatherworker, fine artist, designer. Where did your story begin? Bring us back.
Yes. All right, so Golden Girls reference. Picture it, 2011. Living in New York at the time, was going to school at Parsons. Quickly realized, I can't afford this anymore. So decided to drop out, and I was like, all right, I still want to be creative. I still need to get my visual representation of the world out there. And so I started an Etsy page and started
the golden age of Etsy.
Yes, when Etsy was cool. When it wasn't fast craft. That's a thing.
Good word, yeah.
Let's monetize that.
Yeah, deal.
And yeah, so I had little knit things on there at the time, but then I also was like, okay, let's make some gifts for people. So started making things for family and friends, like, all right, here's a little fake leather tote bag, or here's a little canvas pencil pouch.
And how did you start in bags specifically?
I realized that clothing is very hard to do solo online.
Makes it so challenging.
Well, because you have such a range of sizes, and if you want to have gendered clothing as well, or include all gender, there's just so many different variables. Whereas with bags, it's for the most part one size fits all. So it's like, all right, let's just make some things and see how it goes. So decided to go to the fabric store. I went down to Canal Street and got some fabric, and I was like, okay, these are cool little pouches. Let's put them on the internet, see what happens. And then it just kind of progressed, did the Etsy thing for a bit.
Were you marketing yourself in any way at that point?
Not really. Instagram was the still new frontier. That was the good days of Instagram before everything
it was
had to
more
be perfect.
personal.
Yes, it didn't have to be perfect. So I think I started an Instagram page for myself / the business in 2013. So that was my main marketing thing.
Did it have a name?
It was just Ian James.
Oh, nice. So it's just an evolution. Okay, I love that.
I knew from the very beginning that I wanted it to just be my name.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah. So I just started making bags and things online. I did not start off with what most people do, which is like the belts, the wallets. I was like, let's do the bags first. And started my own website shortly after that. And then it just kind of progressed through all the cities, all the places I've lived. I've just taken it with me.
Can you talk a little bit more about when you left Parsons and then you were going to fabric stores and pulling from sale sections? And how do you feel like that has shaped your just experience as a designer, as a creative outside of those kind of traditional systems that we have?
I feel like it pushed my creativity because, no shade if you're watching, no shade, but there were a lot of kids in the design schools that came from very wealthy backgrounds that just had, the world was their oyster, whereas doing the route that I did.
Tell us about your background.
Yeah. So originally from Southern California, also lived in Vegas for a time, solidly middle class, but also just didn't have the college fund, didn't have social safety nets that some people do. And I think with that, it just came like this resilience to always have to put my best foot forward. I always have to keep fighting because there's no one there to just swoop me up if it fails. Yes. And so with that, like I said, it just came this resilience and push of creativity of, okay, I'm working from a deficit. And so what can I do with the materials that I have? What can I come up with? Obviously, at the time, they weren't super high end, but I was like, how can I make this as cool as possible with...
And what were you doing then?
So I would make little pencil pouches or like fabric laptop briefcase things, weekender bags.
Did you have any kind of signature motifs in the way that a lot of your work does now?
Back then, everything was very angular. I feel like some of the designs now have the sharp lines and all that, but it was definitely like, we are playing with squares and triangles. There was not a circle in sight. And so definitely was playing with geometric things. And then on one bag, I decided to put 2 X's as part of the handles. And that was my most popular thing. And so the double X motif was born and started putting on one thing and then sorry. No. But I would say definitely in those days going to those fabric stores or just going to the sale bins or just trying to figure it out what I was going to do. It's like I said, really just pushed what can I do with this? Where can I go? I don't have access to these high-end leathers or cool fabrics or pattern makers or anything. I had to figure this all out. So let's do it.
And what was the transition, or how did you find and fall in love with leather from that world? I'm sure there wasn't a lot of leather in those bins.
Yeah. So when I started making things, like I said, it was with fabric. And at the time, YouTube wasn't what it is now, where you can just search a tutorial on how to make this bag. And obviously, TikTok was not a thing. Instagram, there was no tutorial. So literally, I just learned by staring at bags online. So I would go on Coach.com or Hermes or all these things and just look at the bags the 360 and try to reverse engineer. And I was like, oh my gosh, these leather bags, these are it. This is what I want to do. And so I was like, let's just incorporate a little bit of leather. Because at the time, I didn't have a leather sewing machine. I was doing everything on a home sewing machine. And just kind of progressed. And then once I felt like I mastered it enough, I did a Kickstarter campaign, bought a new leather sewing machine, and then I was like, all right, let's go to the leather parts of the store and let's go to the actual leather stores in New York and take it from there.
Oh, I love that. And how do you describe the style of your bags now?
See, people ask me this question, and I often have a hard time answering. I feel like the style is both minimal. I would say I come from a more like minimal space, but I like...
What do you mean by that?
So a lot of the designs for the most part don't have a lot of frills. I try to keep things in neutral-ish colors for the most part. But I would say lately, definitely pushing it on a bit more of a maximalist, you know.
There's a pink one I've seen recently that I love.
Yes, definitely pushing myself with that. But I would say timeless bags with a modern edge to them. Like, so timeless bags, I would say not modern, with a contemporary, because contemporary means of the now. So like contemporary edge, I don't want them to be super flashy. I want them to be like, if you know, you know. And so that's the air of what I try to do, where it's like, obviously my name isn't in big script across the front. Yeah. So when you see the double X's, if you see the flower appliques, if you see the core brand identities out in the crowd, then you can spot that is the Ian James.
Have you seen your work out in the real world?
I have, yes. I have seen it out in the wild a few times, and it's rather shocking. Or some friends or customers even have sent photos of like random people just walking down the street with a bag or something.
Cool. Yeah. Have you seen that mostly here in San Francisco, or?
So there was someone that saw a bag of mine in like Montana or something like that.
Amazing. I'm so glad it was traversed.
Yeah, I was like, that is okay, great.
Honestly, I could see that.
Yeah, so they're making the way around.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That must feel like so surreal.
It is surreal, but also there's times where, you know, doing my sales reports for the year, and it's like, wow, that many people have my catch-all trays in their home? Like, that's wild. Yes. Like, that's weird to think. Or, oh, people have my art just in their house. Like, it's just weird to think like that. Because obviously I interact with the customers here in the store, and it's here, but to think that it's outside of here is sometimes a strange but really cool concept.
Yeah, when I was speaking with Luis Pena, who's a woodworker, on a previous episode, he was sharing how he infuses story into a lot of his pieces, but then they really go on to live lives of their own. Like they're tables that people spill on, or in your case, they're bags that go to different events, or catch-all trays someone puts their keys in every single day and is interacting with. Yes. And that's such a special part of the design.
Yes, yeah. It is nice how, as designers, we have all the intent in the world, but it's really cool when people take our products and make it theirs. That's where the transition, like the cool part of that transition happens. And that's nice to see when people come in like, oh yeah, I'm still using my bag, and it's been 5 years or whatever. And you can see the patina, or like...
It's the best part of leather.
Yeah, or like even if there's a mark on it, but it's part of the story. Like, use your things, create your own story with the product.
And you have a brick and mortar store now, and it took you about 10 years in your business before you opened it?
Yes.
Can you walk us through those first 10 years? How did you get to a place in the different evolutions of your business where you were taking the next step to eventually having your own space?
Yeah, definitely took my time a little bit. When I first started this was my main gig. So back in New York, part of my living room at the time was a little studio set up.
What did that look like? Paint the picture.
So my boyfriend at the time, now husband, he was like, you have taken over this whole apartment. Like, why are you cutting things on the floor? I just want to watch TV. Literally half of our living room was like makeshift IKEA, you know, like those little 8 square IKEA things. And I had 2 of them on their side, put wood on top, and that was my work table. And then I had storage underneath, had my big industrial sewing machine, racks of fabric and leather just all shoved.
Sounds beautiful.
It was a time. It was definitely a time. Would I do that again? No. But
what would you do now? How would you change that?
Never in the home. Never again. Never again. I will do whatever I can to store, studio space. No, not
just because it's hard to separate the two?
It's hard to separate, but also it's just there's so much. I mean, as you can see, you're in the space. There's a lot of mess.
Accoutrement.
Yeah, yes. There's a lot of extras that come with this, so it's just nice to have a separation of that. No, so I was doing that when we were living in New York. So started like 2012-ish, 2013. We moved to Miami in 2014. Still did that as my main gig then. And then we moved to Sonoma in 2016. And I was like, okay, it's been a few years. I want a big boy paycheck. So I'm going to start a corporate life now and still do this on the side. And worked my way up through corporate hospitality, did all the bags on the side, literally.
How did you balance that when you were doing both? What did your life look like? I feel like you see so much of the other side when someone gets to, okay, you have your own space, you have your own shop, but what does it look like when you're balancing both?
It's difficult, for sure, especially then, because I was hell-bent on accelerating the 9-to-5 career. And I was putting the bags more on the back burner. So I would do markets 3 times a year. And I did the online sales. I would do the Instagram, but definitely not to the extent that I'm doing this at now. So was juggling that from 2016 to 2020. And the pandemic happened. So got furloughed from my job, and I started working for a really good friend of mine, Sarah, who owns Often Wander Candles here in San Francisco, and was still doing the bags on the side, had it in the spare bedroom, like still doing that. But then when I started working for her and helping her run her store, I was like, oh, okay, I could maybe do this myself.
What were the kind of elements of working in that environment that removed the barriers and made it feel more accessible?
Well, obviously, as a shopper, you have one side of store ownership. Like, you see the facade of it, but it seems very daunting to just take your own money and deal with landlords' leases. Just like, where do you even start? And so when I was working for her, I was like, oh, like I already had a point of sale system, already had the website, but it's just how she integrated everything into the retail, like the direct-to-consumer retail opportunity. I was like, well, this isn't as daunting as I thought. Yes, it's a lot of work, but it's like, this is the insurance part. This is just the day-to-day operations of what it's like to produce in your store and put it out for sale on the sales floor, like all those aspects. And so I worked for her for a bit, and in 2021 opened my own shop here in San Francisco. I call it my starter store.
Where was it?
It was in Bernal Heights, so literally 5 blocks from my house. And I would just walk up the hill to the store every day and produce in this little store.
And when did you get into this store?
So I moved here in 2022. And that was a whole process. That one was like, I'm working with small business lenders for a loan. I'm working with landlords and like really negotiating a lease, and working with small business development centers for resources, and the tens of thousands of dollars I spent to just open the doors, let alone even produce.
What was the biggest cost when you were opening?
Definitely furnishing. That's something that a lot of people don't realize is you have to have things to put your product on.
Yeah.
And at least when it comes to more the flashier retail stores, like I don't think people realize like, oh my God, the store looks so cool. But to build that out is, some stores, it's like minimum $50,000, like just to build the fixtures, just to put the shelves on the wall, like all that stuff.
Or just shelves.
Yeah, it's like they're beautiful, but it takes a lot of capital to open, let alone have enough cash flow to even sustain yourself. But yeah, so literally put all the shelves up myself, put all the, like anything that you see in here, the paint, my husband and I painted the whole store, did the floor, like everything.
Very high ceilings.
Yeah. The way that we struggled, we were like, okay, well, do we get like a crane in here? Do we just get super long rods? Like, what do we do? So we struggled with that for a week.
What'd you do?
We got very, very long paint pole things. And when we were painting, that was actually when Beyonce's Renaissance came out. So that's what sustained us. Was listening to that and craning our necks and just going over and over.
I was recently listening to a podcast that was talking about how much money that tour put into the economy, and this is just another contribution that she apparently puts
exactly,
up.
yes.
And bring us to today. From the store, you've recently made a big change in how you're running and operating the business. Can you share more about that?
Yes. So I've been here from 2022, now it's 2025, so a good 3 years. In the beginning, it was fine. Like, I was getting my sea legs with this bigger space, a busier street. There's just a lot more things going on. And then things were fine up until last year, maybe. And then it was just a free fall. It was just like out of nowhere, just boom, everything just dried up completely. And that was
see that in online sales and in store?
Online, in store, wholesale, like that stopped because most of my wholesale accounts are other boutiques.
Yes.
And so if people aren't shopping with boutiques in general in person anymore, then they won't buy from other makers that they use to stock their shelves.
But a validation point that everyone else was also experiencing that, you know?
Yes, it was. So at first, I felt like it was me, like I'm the drama, it's me. And because I started seeing little inklings of it, like maybe late 2023. I was like, this holiday season isn't what it used to. Okay, it's a fluke. Beginning of 2024, okay, it's fine. And then, like I said, once summer hit, I was like, what's happening? And like I said, I thought it was just me. But then when I would reach out to other people in my community and knowing that they were struggling as well, and not just in San Francisco, but just nationwide, like, wow, a lot of us small makers or small boutique owners, wow, we are really struggling. Last year was the worst of times and the worst of times. Not the best mental health wise, not the best with the store. It was very, very difficult because I had 2 employees as well. So I was thinking about making sure they could continue to work here and get paid and sustain themselves. But the weird thing is I actually feel like I started producing my best work through that, through the struggle. So really started out the fine art practice then, and really pushing myself and seeing trajectory at that. I started experimenting more with color and texture and everything last year.
What do you think propelled you to start working on? Did you feel like you had more time to spend on those initiatives, or?
Definitely did not have more time, that's for sure. I think it was more so I can't afford to get material at the rate that I used to. So how do I make do with what I have? And so that's when I started doing like the patchwork thing. Because it's like I have so much remnant and it's just sitting here. So why would I not use this? So started making things with patchwork, started doing the things with the appliques, with the flowers and stuff like that, because technically those are just remnants as well. They're just,
which are such pillars of your visual brand identity now.
Yes, absolutely. And then with that, started working more with color, because especially with the patchwork, you're taking just random pieces. And so you have to, color theory everything together. And it's like, oh, let's actually work with brighter colors or weirder combinations. Let's just go for it.
Do you have a favorite that you've worked with recently?
Let's see. There was one bag where I had like that Sherpa like fleece material. Mm-hmm. And I was like, let's just make a mini purse out of it, because I just have this randomly sitting here and I don't know what to do with it. And so that was a fun mix of materials. Like, all right, let me just cut up this, Yeti fabric and make a purse out of it. And it's like, we're in winterish spring. It's still on season. So that was really fun to do. But then also, like I said, just playing more with the leather sculptures, the art. And I think that is what really unlocked more creativity, because I was putting my emotions into the art. And so it just allowed me to...
Can you talk about what allowed you to start working with leather in that way, or just the kind of initiation into more fine art?
So I started making art in 2020, like with leather. Mm-hmm. So I started making leather flowers when we were all stuck inside. And I was like, oh, this is fun. I like molding leather into different shapes.
What's your process for that? Like, how do you actually mold it? Especially since I know a lot of the leather that you work with is that really, really
like rigid.
Sturdy, yeah. Sturdy.
Literally just water. Just water and whatever dyes that I mix with, or I can just leave it undyed. And then, form it, let it dry, and then that's it.
So just the water softens it.
Yes, now it's a particular kind of leather that I use, but the leather just has a mind of its own.
Okay, so you started, sorry, I interrupted you. You started with making the flowers and were experimenting with the more sculptural elements.
Yes, so I was doing the leather flowers, also started like weaving leather into artwork, but it was more so like, I just want to make pretty things. Like, I just want to make pretty art. And my friend / artist mentor was like, how about you make things that are, like, you're not doing it for appeal. You're not doing it to make it look pretty. You're doing it to push a boundary. I was like, okay, well, let's see what I can do. At the beginning of last year, I was like, okay, I'm going to make some pieces that are just wild for me. I don't think they're wild in general, but for me at the time, it was like, oh, this is scary. And then there's a gallery right down the street from me, Strike Slip Gallery. They came into the store right when they opened, and they were like, oh my God, this is so cool. Would you want to be part of a group show? I was like, yeah. And so I made a small collection in like 2 weeks. And the collection was called Leaning Into Fear, because I wanted to make things that scared me a little bit and pushed me. And so that was the launching pad. It was like, after that, then I think I was in maybe like 6 galleries last year.
Oh, man.
That pushed that trajectory through, and now it's something that I really am focusing on.
Something that when we spoke on the phone that you said that I loved was your bags are beautiful things that you're making, but you're really making them for others. They're for consumption, and your art was for you.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that and how you do infuse your emotions into the art that you're creating, or what felt scary about it? So
definitely with the bag, it has to fit a certain purpose, or if it's a custom order, it's literally exactly what the customer wants. That's not me. Like, I'm infusing me into it, but it's under the lens of this has to fit a purpose for someone else's life. Whereas with the art, there's no boundary. If I want to use a lime green, then I can use lime green. I don't have to worry about it. Like, is this mass consumption enough? Is this going to sell well? With the art, it's just a way for me to get out my emotions, especially because I started a therapy journey last year. And I found that I'm someone that doesn't sit with emotion. I'm just like, what's the next thing? Keep going, keep going, keep going. And so I was like, how about when I'm making the art, I just sit with whatever emotion at the time and just put it in that. And so it was a therapeutic way. That is meditation. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, then I am a master of meditation.
We were talking about meditation earlier, so weaving it in, but that's exactly what it is.
Okay. I love that. I love that, because it's just a bit hard for me to sit in silence and mindfulness. But when it comes to the art, that I can do.
But it's just sitting with something, I think, and allowing it to be, and you're allowing it to be, and then putting it into something else.
Yes. What also is fun about it is with the art, it feels, even with the bags, but more so the art, it feels like a snapshot into what I was thinking or feeling at the time. And so, like, even when I'm looking around, like, some of the pieces that I still have, I'm like, that's what I was feeling in August of 2024. That's what I was feeling of January 2025. It's my own scrapbook in a way, or like my own diary.
Yeah, I love that perspective, because I think so many artists, when you grow and evolve and your art changes and inevitably gets better, or you gain more skills, it's so easy to look back and find what was wrong with pieces before, or what you would do differently. But I love the idea of viewing them more as like a time capsule of, this is a moment in time of exactly where you were.
Yes. Especially with the bags, now that I've done this long enough, it is fun to go back through Instagram. Yes, or going through my old product photos, like, oh wow, I've really come a long way.
Yeah.
It's like, people bought my stuff and it looked like that? Wow. Okay.
And they probably still have it.
Yes, and they're like, oh my gosh, I love it so much. I'm like, wow, I have definitely come a long way. So it's fun to look back into the archives.
But there really is such a timeless quality to a lot of your work, even though it has evolved, I'm sure, in so many ways.
Yes, and I will say as a message to any new crafters out there, don't get discouraged by where you are now, because it'll keep evolving. It'll just naturally evolve, especially because you're going to evolve as a person.
You do that in the moment. How do you really bring an acceptance and compassion to where you are, even though you have aspirations to be beyond that?
See, now that's a tricky question because I do not give myself any self-compassion. But so to answer that question, I just bulldoze my way through. Like, I'm just going to keep practicing. I'm going to keep getting better. I'm just going to keep going until I get it. And then once I get that, then I can do the next skill. So that's my approach.
What makes you feel like you've achieved mastery of something?
For me, it's when I don't have to refer to my notes of how I did something or refer to a certain tutorial or a pattern. It's when it just comes naturally. Then it's like, okay, I have that muscle memory in me. Some things may still need to be tweaked, but I get the foundational concept. And so now we can build. I think that's the fun part with crafting and getting more skills. It's the building on top of each other to get your own flavor. So it's like, I learned how to do, technically it's called wet molding, like what I do with art pieces and all that, which is a leather skill. So if you see like a leather phone case and it's molded to that, or like the AirPod cases, that is all the same concept. But I took my own thing and I did that and added my own elements and took it from there. And so that's the fun part. Once you get the foundations, then you can just start building your own flavor on top of it.
And I would love to segue into, for people who are interested in leatherworking or craft in general, but maybe specifically leatherworking, what advice would you have for someone who is just starting or even just curious?
So I would say leather is a material that when you puncture a hole in it, there's no going back. It's not like fabric where I can just get a seam ripper and just do it over. So don't be discouraged by the finality of it. Just get, like, there's cheap leather everywhere. Or if you have an old pair of shoes that you just really don't want anymore, take it apart and make a wallet out of it. Just start using things that are around you or that is accessible or inexpensive. Get yourself a cheap set of tools.
What are the tools that someone would need to just start, maybe if they're just in their homes? I know you don't recommend that, but...
getting a good awl, as we were talking earlier.
My favorite tool.
Getting an awl, hole punch or chisels, things to punch the holes out or at least create the holes from there. If you don't want to get a sewing machine, a nice mallet. If anything, also, just use regular glue. Use regular glue. Do not use rubber cement. Save your lungs. You can even go on websites for leatherworking where it's like the starter pack. Just like the $20.99 starter pack. Just do that. Do not get the fancy $100 awl or $200 like you're not there yet. And just make little progress. And if you mess up, it's fine. Then you know what to do for next time.
You're learning.
I think that's the thing with any craft. Do not let the failures discourage you because you're going to keep failing. I'm now in it for 12, 13 years. I still fail on certain things. Or if I make something, I was like, oh, that did not turn out how I wanted. Or, oh, wow, I messed up that stitch and I have to start all over. Like, it still happens, but you can't let it stop you. And also, I would say in the beginning, it's totally fine to copy. Like, okay, I'm just going to use this pattern that's already been done before just to get the foundations. But once you get the foundations, then put your own twist.
Don't get comfortable there.
Yes. Like I said, just keep going. It'll work out. I promise.
I love that. Honestly, I want to end there. That was great. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and expanded. If you'd like to support the show, the best way is to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with the fellow craft workers or craft curious in your life. You'll find everything we talked about, including links to today's guest, in the show notes. You can follow the show on socials @TradesShow to stay up to date. And if you're listening, you can watch the full video version on YouTube. I would highly recommend. It's a treat. And if you're watching, you can stream the audio wherever you get your podcasts. If you have any questions, feedback, or guest suggestions, please reach out anytime. You'll find my contact information in the show notes or at thetradesshow.co. Until next time, stay creative, curious, and continue to honor your craft.